Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another Retro Corner. It's the corner where I and John will sit down and talk about some of the latest updates and news in the world of retro gaming. And John, how are you doing today?
I'm pretty good. I found some news down here. I'll be right back. Here we go. Got it. We have lots of news today.
Oh, you picked it
I
up?
have it right. I have it right here in my hand, ready to go. It's a fat list of awesome, including a big surprise thing.
We're desperate for gigs.
let's do this. So
but we actually have a lot to talk about. Yes,
we do indeed. So this is this is our show that we do specifically for you, the patrons.
Yeah.
So thank you for your support.
This does not go out public. It stays secret.
Chance to catch up on stuff. Exactly.
Yes. So.
Well, hopefully, I want to say first, I hope everybody watching has already checked out the very lengthy PlayStation retrospective that you and I did, because that was one heck of a production.
3 hours long, every launch game for the PlayStation 1 in every region. And we uncovered a lot of new details, comparisons. And that was an amazing experience.
And we got to hear that awesome Atari Jaguar NBA Jam music, which is just legendary.
Yeah. Most importantly, we got to play the Jaguar, and I'm sure Jaguar fans will be very happy with us.
But so what's first on the list then today, Audie?
Let's go, since we're in the corner, let's go to the corner I feel most comfortable in, and let's talk a little bit Amiga. Some micro.
Oh, not the CDI corner. Okay.
Not the CDI corner. I said the corner I feel comfortable in, not the one I'm scolded in.
Sure.
So for the Amiga, this is a couple of weeks late, but nonetheless very cool. Metal Gear, the original Metal Gear from the MSX, has been ported over to the Amiga, and it is an amazing port, should be said. It is, for those who don't know, there was the Metal Gear on MSX2 from Kojima himself, and then there was, of course, the much derided NES version, which is very different and lacking content, has different opening, all these kinds of things. But the one for the Amiga was done by a gentleman called Hoffman, and it ported the port from the Z80 to the 6800. And there's so many additions to this. There's the different translations, for one.
Yes.
There is actually the ability to play either in 50 hertz or in 60. I think that one is specifically for you, John.
Yeah, and also it's important to note that, so the MSX itself, the way it handled sprites and tiles, or however it worked, it was not especially smooth.
No.
And they did not add scrolling, which is fine because this is a screen-by-screen game. But what they did do is they allow for very fluid sprite movement. So as the characters move around the screen, it's like updates at full frame rate in a way that is not the case on the MSX computer. So just moving around the world now looks and feels a lot smoother than it did. And I guess I should also note, what do you think about the music arrangements? Because I really like them. I think it sounds awesome.
Yeah, so the music is one of the things I was most excited about, because Hoffman said he was actually doing like an enhanced soundtrack. I should note, it comes with the option of using an emulated PSG soundtrack from the original MSX. So it's very, very detailed, this port. But yeah, the new enhanced Amiga soundtrack sounds incredible, and couldn't be happier. And I would really want to see what you could do with Metal Gear 2 if that would be possible, considering that soundtrack is incredible as well.
I kind of feel like if he's already gone down this path this far, that Metal Gear 2 is almost inevitable. I would imagine. I hope so. I mean, we can dream.
Hope so. because this from my perspective now, I mean, I think a lot of people would say that the port for, I think it was on Metal Gear Solid 3 Subsistence.
Subsistence, yeah.
Yeah, there are these ports of the MSX games, but those are based on the later re-releases on mobile phones and are different graphically. And I mean, they're close enough. I really
Yeah.
enjoy playing them. But this is like the best experience now for the original game that I know of, is to play it on the Amiga. So it's a bit of a pride for me, considering I grew up with it. But yeah, there's no sprite flickering or anything like you mentioned. New music. There's actually full gamepad support, so you can use like the CD32 controller. You can use the CD32 SNES copy controller.
But how many buttons does it use?
I think it uses 3 of them generally. So,
are you sure this is an Amiga game?
This is the Amiga game. I know, right?
All those buttons. What are you gonna do?
Menus and action. Who knew you could use more than one? We did not. But yeah, just an incredible port. There is even a VHD load version of it, so you can easily get it installed.
That, yeah. So I can try it on my actual Amiga.
Yep, exactly. You have that spec'd out one. I still only have a 500. I need to get the 1200 spec'd out.
I like using the VHD loader. I have an internal drive, but then also the GoTech floppy emulator as well. So it's kind of pick and choose. Like, but it's faster when you use the VHD loader. So it loads really nicely.
Yeah. So I mean, this as you can tell, just a super exciting port, and I would love to stream it one day. Maybe I saw Hoffman on Twitter, and seems like a really nice gentleman. So maybe one day, as we get some more time, we'll stream a bit of a Metal Gear Amiga and see if maybe Hoffman want to comment in the chat or join us. But awesome, I would love to play this a little bit more. I played it quite extensively when it came out. I didn't finish it, but I was so excited for this, and I would love, by the way, if anyone made like a custom big box for this. Just saying.
Oh yeah. Okay, well, I think that's enough on Metal Gear Amiga, but there is kind of another interesting port that you also showed me this week as well.
Yes, so this was one that it popped up on YouTube a while ago, and I'll explain why I discovered it to begin with, but it is the Street Fighter II Nostalgic Edition. And what this is a complete new port. It is not based on anything prior. No, no code base from like another version. This is a completely fan-made port of Street Fighter II for the NES. And this one is really interesting. It works on the real NES, of course. If you have, I think you need the N8 EverDrive, due to the fact that it uses the MMC5 mapper, the most powerful mapper
that was available in the West, at least. MSC5 was quite powerful. I can't remember what all used it though, but
I think Metal Slater Glory used it.
Well, that was VRC7, wasn't it?
No.
No. I'm thinking of that's Konami. Metal Slater Glory. Yeah, that probably does use the MSC5 actually.
I'm pretty sure it does, because that's like an incredible visual novel adventure for the Famicom, and very late from HAL. But yeah, so MSC5 in official capacity wasn't used much, but now in the ROM hacking community, it's being used quite extensively to expand on ROM hacks and whatnot due to the powerfulness of that mapper. But yeah, so this port, very impressive. I played it yesterday. I showed it to you. You can only play as Ryu, but you can go through many of the characters. And,
well, this is actually the interesting thing I saw. First of all, the way they've rendered the sprites out within the limited color palette and size restrictions of the NES, that is impressive to begin with.
Yes.
But also, I really appreciate how the floor in the stage does actually seem to use a line scrolling technique.
Incredible.
So while there's no parallax on the actual layers behind it, obviously, but the floor, it actually has that same depth that you would expect. And in fact, in a way, this is actually again, it's not that comparable, but this is how the 3DO version is. It doesn't have actual parallax scrolling, but it does have line scrolling on the floor. So, and the NES can match that. I guess the only downside I would see is like each character is made up of a number of different sprites, you know,
Yeah.
to form the larger characters. And there is definitely noticeable flicker at times, especially when one of the U's launches a fireball and, you know, you're
Yes.
all on the same line. You kind of see everything sort of flash, but it's all within reason and it looks good, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, because that would be on the same scan line, the Hadouken. So you're gonna get flicker. That's just gonna, that's just inherent with the limitations of the NES. But I guess in an emulator, you can set the limitation to be unrestricted, I guess. So maybe it can look better in Messen or something. And it is, to the credit of the port, it does need something quite cycle accurate in order to run. So you have to use like Messen or their latest FCEUX, or of course the EverDrive N8 or the NT Mini. So yeah, this was an awesome port. Interestingly enough, the reason why I saw this was that in the ROM hacking community, there is an attempt of hacking a pirate version called Super Fighter 3, which is generally known as the most accurate of the pirate ports of Street Fighter on the NES. And they've gotten pretty far. It looks very impressive. But obviously, that's a ROM hack of a pirate. Mm-hmm. So this is a complete rebuild. So it's a curious kind of a race between them now, because I would be curious to see how close the ROM hack comes to like emulating the real experience, or this Parasoft making his own version from ground up, and see if that just was the key to get Street Fighter on the NES, because famously we never got an official port. Got one on Game Boy.
Yeah, that's true. I kind of feel like, and I like what he's doing artistically, and but it feels like to me like the best way to get Street Fighter on an NES would be to sort of go after the style that SNK did with its Neo Geo Pocket games, where it's kind of like you just accept the limitations and you kind of build the art around the smaller proportions. And but even still, like they are smaller already, and it does look really good. So
yeah, but I totally get what you mean. And you say SNK, but you can even make a Capcom comparison in Mighty Final Fight.
That's true. Mighty Final Fight is that as well.
Right. So if you use something like that, with a more limited, it would be a limited roster, but that's normal with the downports. But you could certainly do it. I mean, Turtles Tournament Fighters. I think that's a pretty good one-on-one fighter on the NES. So
that's a really impressive game. It's much better than the Mega Drive one too.
Much better than the Mega Drive. So yeah, so this SF2 NES port, it will be interesting to see if it finishes up. But you can go to itch.io and Parasoft and download the demo for yourself. Anyone can play it. That's the best part.
Absolutely.
So next up on the agenda is not so much news, but it is something we want to touch on because the retro community is a close-knit one. And one of our own has had a pretty bad accident happen. It is I think for the most part, Game Boy repairman and modder, Roarke.
Yeah, he does a lot of like there's shells and different buttons and all kinds of colors and stuff for that. He was working on some Dreamcast pads.
Yeah.
Like he's really good at creating new plastic molds of things that are like super high quality, in addition to just doing general modding work as well. And, really, really top dude.
Yeah. It seems like a wonderful person. And I was watching Retro RGB's Bob do an interview with him recently, and amazing, considering the fact that he was in a car accident, and it was looking quite grim. He was, I think he was in a coma
for a few days. Yeah,
it was looking like he was losing his leg, but then they managed to save it. But it was looking like he wouldn't be able to walk. But now he's actually hopping on one leg and making progress, and is much more positive than I probably would have been in his situation.
Oh, for sure.
He's a true trooper. And the reason why we wanted to touch on it was that he has a GoFundMe currently to help with the medical bills, because he's had many surgeries in the
Yeah.
weeks after the accident. There's many more to come, and he's someone that has done a lot for the retro gaming community. So if you have some bucks to spare, do go to his GoFundMe page. We have one in the description, the link to it, and help out. So I sent a few dollars myself to him, and I know that Bob did also a fundraiser on his stream. So it's good to see everyone get together to help him out, and I think it's been quite successful so far. So wish him the best, and go check out his GoFundMe and help out.
Absolutely.
Next up is something that I had not heard of until, let's see, 6 minutes ago. As we started recording this, John Lindman here sent me a big surprise. It is the Taito Egret 2. It is a new minicab, much like the Astro City from Sega, though just looking at it here, plenty of surprises. Why don't you surprise the viewers like you surprised me?
Well, I too was initially surprised by another friend of the show, Thomas Nickel.
Yeah,
he actually
Professor.
had this message. He sent it to me this morning, and I was like, oh my gosh, look at this thing. This is awesome. So essentially, they are doing what Sega did with the Astro Mini, but sort of taking it to a new level and solving some of the design problems I have with it. The Egret 2 Mini, first of all, they actually use a larger 5-inch 4x3 screen. So they're not using the 16:9 panel anymore, which is one of my biggest complaints.
Right.
But beyond that, they also have, and this is fantastic, it actually supports Tate, where you click in the screen bezel in the screen itself, you press it, and then it pops out, and then you can physically rotate the screen and then pop it back in. So it supports both regular and Tate games, and is the correct aspect ratio.
That is so exciting.
That I love that kind of stuff. And yeah, we've been pretty deep in Taito stuff over the last year.
Oh, we worked with them.
We did, and we got to work on that Darius project together, which was really cool.
Yeah, and I worked on several of their games. So
that's right. The Baron is back.
Yes, thanks to me.
Yes, he is. But yeah. So we don't know the whole lineup of games on this thing, right?
No.
But there's going to be 40 games on here apparently. And again, the caveat here is always these little mini things, like, they're not for everyone. This isn't like a serious play thing, right? It is for fun. And I think they're cute, and I appreciate that they're doing it with an extra attention to detail here. But the lineup so far, okay. So the first few games obviously are from like the older back catalog. So stuff like Space Invaders, Kicks, Lunar Rescue, Elevator Action, Chack and Pop, and Bubble Bobble. So that's all there. And quality stuff. But then we get Rastan Saga 1. One is the one you want.
Yes.
You do not want Rastan Saga 2.
No, you do not want that.
You don't want that one. So that's on there. We got Rainbow Islands Extra.
Okay.
For our European fans, there's the New Zealand story on here.
Essential.
There's Don Doko Don.
Okay, yeah.
Which is another one. And then we have 1989's Violence Fight.
Oh, man, Violence Fight. Yeah, those games are very big sprites.
Indeed.
Not big gameplay.
They also have Kadash on here, which I am a fan of Kadash. I really like that game. It's an awesome co-op sort of adventure action game.
Cool.
The kind of which it's weird to think that was an arcade game first, to be honest.
I know.
But I like it a lot. And then we have Mizubaku Daiboken.
Oh, okay.
Which is again, this is a really cool, clever platform game.
Yeah.
That involves essentially inflating these bubbles and using them to it's almost like adapting, I guess, Bubble Bobble into more of an actual like platform side-scrolling game a little bit.
Yeah, I think it is sort of in the series, kind of unofficial, official, but that was called Liquid Kids.
Liquid Kids, in the West,
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
And that got a really good PC Engine port and a Sega Saturn port as well.
I never played the Sega Saturn port, but I have played the PC Engine port.
It's good. Then we have, this is one of my top 5 shooters of all time, Metal Black from 1991.
Oh my god, they have Metal Black on there?
Yeah,
All right.
which is absolutely, if you guys haven't played this game, it is it's like it's an amazing shooter by itself, but it's just this journey that I love, like this visual and audio journey. I mean, it's the kind of stuff they kind of started in Darius, I think, and you would see again in Darius Gaiden, but there's something about Metal Black and the melancholy of it all that's really interesting and special. So that's on there. And then the last like normal mode game is Kaiser Knuckle that's been announced, which is their fighting
Kaiser
game.
Knuckle. So that's
which
a
is
fighter.
cool.
Yeah,
yep.
yeah. So
pretty big sprites, nice animation.
Good animation, yeah.
And then we also have a few. So the bundle, it comes with a second controller that's has little paddles on it. So they've got Strike Bowling, Arkanoid, Plump Pop, Sylvalion, Camel Tree, Sylvania, and then Arkanoid Returns, all paddle driven games. So it's kind of a fun little bonus. Get some paddle games in there.
Very cool.
I like that. So yeah, I mean, I really like these types of cabinets. I think it's a fun little thing. My only thing is like, I hope they follow this up with a mini Darius cabinet with like Darius on there, the Ninja Warriors, stuff like that.
Yeah,
like,
that would be very interesting.
You can't tell me that wouldn't be amazing just to have like
I would love it. When
they could make it like, ooh.
When we worked on, or I don't know if you worked on it, but I worked on Cosmic Revelations, the collector's edition. And one of the items there is a papercraft cabinet.
Yep.
And I had the same feeling like you then. It's like, man, what if this actually was a functional little thing?
Oh my gosh. So, that would be the ultimate right there, is to do a little Darius cabinet with the super wide screen on there.
Or Ninja, or make it a Ninja Warriors / Darius.
Well, yeah, exactly. And I can't remember. Is Thunder Fox also one of those wide games?
I think it is.
I can't remember if it is, but Thunder Fox is another great one.
Right.
As far as games they haven't announced, I would like to see stuff like Roarke on here, Darius Gaiden, and various other things like that. Would be cool to add to the Egret too.
That had a Mega Drive port, yeah.
Roarke, yeah, it did.
Yeah. It was
it's
Growl.
fine, but
Growl in the US.
Yeah, but it's that game throws around a lot of sprites.
Right.
To try to capture that on Mega Drive, rather than just doing fewer sprites, they made all the sprites pretty small, and the game itself feels it doesn't look nearly as impressive as the best brawlers in the system, but it plays okay. But the arcade version is significantly better.
What I want to see is Night Striker.
Oh my gosh, Night Striker on there would be so good.
Oh, it's not too late.
It could still happen.
So we should mention though that so they announced this. The pre-order is up on Amazon JP. It says that the release date is March 2022.
Yeah, it's
still
distance.
quite a wait.
Indeed.
I don't know if that's a placeholder or if that is actually the release date, but nevertheless, I will be getting this. So
yes, of course.
Excellent lineup so far, and I mean, there's still time to announce more games, obviously. So
yeah, we got to figure out what the full 40 are.
Yeah. So how many games was it so far? Did you count?
I didn't actually count.
Okay.
3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 10, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Like 2021, it looks like.
Okay, so halfway.
Yeah, so we got about half of them.
So,
and they seem to have started in chronological order somewhat, with the 1978, 79 games first, so maybe we'll see some of the newer stuff as well in there. I hope so.
I love these mini cabs, man, especially for these arcade things. Like, I really enjoy the Astro City, despite some, the usual caveats that's in there. But I had a good time with it, and I like the fact Taito, more so than most other companies, very good at respecting and like keeping their legacy alive. So
yeah, they're great about that. I love it.
And it also does say, very importantly, it does say that the thing here comes with a Suntada anniversary CD. So
it's true.
3 discs. Very exciting.
That makes it all worth it.
So yeah, we'll definitely keep an eye on this, and you can be sure on March 2022 we'll be back with a review. So next on the docket, we have been enjoying the Retro Tink5X quite extensively. Used very much in the PlayStation episode of the Retro, and it has gotten a firmware update. Now, before we go into the firmware update, Mike Chi has said that he's making more units available. Just keep checking his Twitter. I know a lot of people on our Discord has been asking, like, when will we be able to buy it? Very soon. And he is working on making it available at all times. It's not just like we have to find pockets of some sales here and there. Mike is working very hard at making it available for everyone. But John, there are some significant updates in this firmware update, so take us through it.
Yeah, so one of the first things is he's changed the way that he handles 480p sources.
Mm.
So it essentially sort of treats them like the 858 pixel DTV when using the 1080p modes, the fill and under modes. So it allows for basically pixel perfect sampling on 480p titles in general. So that just means, crisper, sharper edges than was possible previously on that. He's also playing around with the low pass filter because right now it's not very effective.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like, well, prior to the firmware, I haven't tried this one yet, but it does apparently reduce noise further, but doesn't compromise sharpness, which is always a difficult balance to get right with low pass filters. So I'm curious to see how that looks. He fixed a few aspect ratio issues and some issues with 720p mode, as well as a scanline generator bug that caused false colors on bright scenes. As well as sync problems that we had with like the Neo Geo with the AES and MVS consoles, consoleized MVS.
Yeah.
So that's good. The Sega Master System was not stable previously, and apparently by activating the low pass filter, it actually does stabilize the image. So that's good. And he also added 576 and 1440p output options for PAL sources.
Exactly. I was waiting for it.
Which is a great one.
This is big for Amiga and some other things like this. So I was very happy to see this update. And I know
Absolutely.
that MVG and stuff was sending a lot of feedback regarding certain PAL things. So it looks like this firmware, it's the first firmware update only a few weeks after release. And if this is the way forward, then I'm gonna say that I think Mike Chi has just hit the home run.
And that's kind of the main thing, is because when you looked at like the FrameMeister, it was kind of a black box. You didn't know what Mecomsoft was doing. They would just drop a firmware out of nowhere. The OSSC obviously received good support, but this one Mike seems to be paying very close attention to as well, to what the community is asking for and sort of addressing problems as they're encountered. I need to share some information about the 3DO and using one of the RGB mods, because I do have some issues with that. But by and large, it's in a really good state now, and there is still some room for improvement, but it's getting better with these updates. And yeah, it's a really, really impressive product. And I've been using it for a lot of my retro content.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, on the PlayStation 1, we used it with a lot of our comparison footage.
Basically, anything that wasn't captured with the PS1 digital was captured instead with the RetroTink. So
yeah, and it held up wonderfully next to the PS1 digital. So speaking of the Tink, also the fan community around it has been doing a lot of cool stuff. I just ordered the stand from Retrofrom. Which is at the post office. I need to go pick it up. I should have picked it up before doing this. But it lets you stand the RetroTink vertically, and it even has this little flap for the SCART. So that's the thing.
I love that stuff.
And then also, speaking of SCART, you showed me a schematic of what might be coming up, which plugs into the SCART and creates like an extension where the SCART port is on top, and then
and also on the side and reversed. So essentially the reason we mentioned this is apparently like late in development or later in development when Mike added the SCART port. I guess due to the way the board was designed, he had to sort of reverse the direction that it's placed. So, with the way SCART cables are actually usually made, the cable comes in at an angle and then kind of moves off to the side.
Right.
And with the way the SCART port is on the Tink5X, this generally means that the cable is going to be moving out towards the front of the unit, which is kind of the reverse of what you'd actually want. And it's cool to see. I mean, it's a minor thing, but it's something that people are obviously working to solve and improve, because keeping the Tinks in your setup is kind of the optimal way to go, and you don't want cables sticking out weirdly.
Todd from Terra Onion did a stream, or a direct rather, where he showed off the new Terra Onion device. There was a lot of speculation if it would be a Super Nintendo cartridge or something else.
That would have been kind of boring, I think. But
yeah, maybe. I don't know. I mean,
we don't need another Super NES one.
We have the Super FX Pro pack.
Exactly.
Which is very good. But I mean, there's always room.
Sure, there's room. There's always room for more. But still.
So if they have new ideas, come with it. But the idea they had this time is an update to their Super SSD 3 system, which I actually have. But this is the Super HD System 3 Pro, which plugs in the back of your PC Engines or your TurboGrafx, and what's it called? The Core Graphics?
Yeah, the Core Graphics. Anything with the expansion port on the back. I think it also would work with the Super Graphics.
The Super Graphics, yes. So
it will not work with the Duo, though.
Yes.
Will not work for the Duo.
No, not the Duo. Don't try to put it on there. But yes, so it plugs in the back, and it gives you basically the mode compatibility now. You can put the ROMs and CD ISOs on it. It can plug the HDMI.
That's the key, is the CD ISOs, of course. That was one of the main features of it, because it allowed you to use just a regular PC Engine with this to play the CD games without the CD-ROM drive. And CD-ROM drives on PC Engines are some of the least reliable you can imagine, which is fair given that it was like the first CD-ROM system out there, like coming out in like 89 or whatever. So I can give them a break on that.
Oh yeah, I mean this seems like it addresses a lot of things. So the original Super SD System 3 was it had 3 revisions. I have revision 3 because the RGB signal on it was a little bit unstable. The last revision is quite good, but they were saying for this one that it has best in class RGB. So I know that our friends of My Life in Gaming just like rolled their hands together as that was stated. I'm sure they're going to put that to the test. And then, of course, the HDMI plug, which makes it very useful on your modern setup. Additionally, the file system, or the UI rather, is kind of it goes along with the rest of the Terra Onion stuff now, where you can use like the cover art and things like this.
It looks a lot like the Mega SD.
Mega SD or the mode.
Visual design, or the mode, as well.
So
that's cool.
I actually think this is part of the Terra Onion sort of like, let's say their speciality, and what I like about them is that the UI can often be kind of forgotten in the whole scheme, where it's just kind of like a file browser with text, and of course there's a limitation to how much you can do. But they always go an extra mile and make the presentation something special, and I really like having.
Well, that's the key. In this case, he said that they're generating a lot of the graphics stuff using the FPGA on the board, so they're able to kind of do more than you could actually have done on the real system.
Right.
Which I think is a really clever solution to this problem. Because, a really nice UI definitely improves the overall experience for sure. And that's, I love the EverDrive stuff, but that's kind of the one weakness, I think, on the EverDrive products in general, and the FX pack and all that, is just the UI is like, it's perfectly functional, but it's not stellar.
Now, the Super FX pack, at least you can customize the menu theme, which,
That's true. That's one of the better ones. And the N64 one as well has some decent stuff there, but
it's not. But I mean, they're speaking of best in class, when it comes to the UI stuff, I think Terra Onion does take that best in class award. So I'll be interested to see how this turns out. I mean, it's interesting timing. Of course, when we were watching the direct, I mentioned to you that, it's an interesting time with the Analog Duo coming out. But as you mentioned, it's kind of two different products. I mean, it's the same.
It is
It's the
fundamentally,
same
I think.
console, but they do different things. And you're totally right about that.
Yeah, and the Analog Duo I think is really enticing because it is still accepting original media
Mhm.
as usual, and like it's just a beautiful looking device, and I'm really curious to actually see what it looks like when it's eventually kind of revealed in
Yeah,
person. But because I have a good collection of cue cards and CD games,
same.
and man, these PC Engine things, just adjusting that CD-ROM drive, it is a nightmare. Like
Yeah.
even if you take everything recapped, readjusted, and all that, like still like getting all the different potentiometers in order, because the PC Engine CD, like the original Duo, has like 5 potentiometers on the board plus
Mhm.
one on the laser itself. They all need to be in perfect harmony to read the CD correctly. Otherwise, you'll get errors. Like some tracks won't read right, or like tracks along the edge of the disc will struggle to read, and all kinds of glitches like that. Even in a overall well working unit, so it's frustrating.
Yeah. So it's cool. Really enjoy Terra Onion stuff. Always interested in seeing what they do next. So we'll keep an eye on this, and of course, any other updates to their library we'll take a look at. So, but good on Alex and Todd doing amazing stuff like this. So check out the Super HD System 3 Pro if you already have a PC Engine or other devices which can use it, because it looks like it would be a really good solution for
Because here on the Retro Corner, we all love Z Engine.
We do love the engine, and we love
Absolutely.
the Klaus. So shout out to Klaus for this one. He is the true engine master. So that rounds out the different news for today. Lots of cool stuff, lots of back ports to or down ports. I don't know what to call them, but cool stuff being ported to different machines regardless.
Yes.
Again, check out Roarke's GoFundMe, help him out to get him back on his feet, quite literally. Taito Egret 2, can't wait for it. Retro Tink5X, gotta go update. And of course, System HD System, or Super HD System 3 Pro. Check it out.
Super HD System Pro, exactly.
It's a mouthful. So John,
Indeed.
Thanks so much for being in the corner with me.
Of course, I love being in this corner. It's the best corner.
It is the best corner. And of course, let us know what you think, if you're interested in any of these products, or if there's any other news you want us to check out before the next Retro Corner in a few weeks. Next week, we'll do another pickup, and then, of course, we'll be hard at work with a new DF Retro for the end of the month. And we'll reveal that to you shortly, I'm sure.
Yes, indeed.
So see you again soon, my friend.
Likewise. And we'll see you soon, patrons. Or maybe even over on the chat. We'll see you on the Discord. Come over and say hi as always, because we're going to be hanging out there.
We are there every day, and thank you for being there as well. So see you guys soon, and bye-bye.